When people think about Africa, many focus on poverty, exploitation, and corruption. They often think of images of starving children and people begging for handouts. This is not the Africa you will see in the Panta district in Liberia, West Africa. Panta is a very unique and a different place, a beautiful place of potential and innovation. In Panta, we see every crisis as an opportunity. We use local resources and labor to address the needs in the community. We use challenges as motivation to create progress. During COVID-19, because of massive food shortages, we built a rice farm by hand and a rice production and refinery system to feed ourselves. We did this without government assistance. We are innovators and problem solvers. After the COVID crisis, we established a company to package and extend access of clean spring water to over 32 villages throughout Panta. We believe in a society with zero tolerance for corruption. We are committed to a code of conduct based on integrity and ethics, and a culture of respect and love for one another. We love to play and we are lifelong learners. We believe in community, unity, and cooperation for the common good of all of our citizens and visitors in Panta. And most importantly, we are dreamers. We are dreaming about building one road that will become the heartbeat of Panta. One road that will become the backbone of development, creating a self-sufficient enterprise zone, which is ideal for growth in agriculture and other industries. This is the road to a prosperous future, connected to a bridge that will connect Liberia's capital, Monrovia, to Guinea, exponentially expanding local and international trade. A road that will put an end to an abominable high infant mortality rate because we cannot transport people to hospitals during the rainy seasons. One road that represents a monument for pride among the Panta people. Finally, we are looking for a helping hand in order for us to attain self-reliance so that we will never again need to ask for charity. Will you join us with a helping hand? Together, we can shape a prosperous future for Panta and its people. Thank you so much.
And firstly, I say thank you to the two of you because lots of people have given up on Liberia, and not without good reason. To be very honest with you, Liberia was a donor darling, and Liberia received $16 billion or so during a period where we had all of the technical support and all of the goodwill, and it has not translated into tangible results in terms of poverty eradication, in terms of poverty alleviation, in terms of economic growth. The changes we expected, the transformation that should have happened with that investment didn't happen. And so many donors have given up. I currently, and I really don't like to talk about myself, but I just wanted to make sure I give context to some of the things that Q said. So currently I serve as the Deputy Special Representative of the Secretary General in South Sudan. And I also serve, which is a different function from being resident coordinator of the UN Development System in South Sudan, which is different from being humanitarian coordinator in South Sudan. So I have a triple role. And what all that means is that I'm the head of all of the UN agencies, funds, and programs in South Sudan, all of them, UNDP, WHO, UNICEF, all of the operational development agencies. I'm the SGs, I'm the Secretary General's representative coordinating them. Separately, I coordinate all the humanitarian actors in South Sudan. So there's about 249 INGOs, NGOs, and so forth. And then within the peacekeeping mission, I'm one of the deputies. And so in that function, my responsibility in South Sudan, actually, I was sent with marching orders to go and shift the narrative in South Sudan and shift the focus in South Sudan from a perpetual humanitarian catastrophe and spiraling, continual humanitarian needs spiraling downwards, and to try to pivot that towards development. And traditionally, the model, and I'm speaking off the record, I know this is being recorded, but I'm speaking off the record here and saying this. But the model we have globally for the aid architecture, for me, it doesn't work. For me, it's not effective. I've served 3 years in Yemen. I set up the first ever World Bank funded humanitarian cash program. World Bank doesn't do humanitarian, World Bank does development. But World Bank piloted in Yemen for the first time a social safety net during a crisis, and I was the one that led that. I developed that, and I was the one that was responsible for paying cash benefiting 9 million people across Yemen during the conflict, which is still ongoing. Served Nigeria, served Namibia, served Nepal twice, was head of the UN in Nepal, served the Gambia. I was there for the transition of power. And of course, I've worked in my own country, Liberia. And so that's my journey. That's my UN journey in a nutshell. And currently sitting at the level of Assistant Secretary General in the UN.
You had an amazing career. God bless you.
Thank you.
Can I ask you 2 questions?
Yes.
If you had a magic wand and you were totally unencumbered by the past, except as a means of giving you knowledge, and you were to wave a magic wand to create a formula that was inordinately successful in a small geographical area that could be exported, what would that miracle look like to you?
Fanta.
Wow.
So
I didn't tell her
because of my
I didn't tell her
because of my vast experience, I'm the only Liberian ever who's done development from the ground up. So I started as a national officer in Liberia in the UN from the level 1, and have done development all the way up through now becoming an ASG. It doesn't happen. In fact, I don't think there's any ASG that has that track. Usually people come in because ASG is a political appointment, so you don't come from a technical background usually. So I'm a rarity in the UN. But I think God permitted that for me to have the knowledge and skills and understanding to know what man has created doesn't work. And God is looking for us to use his resources in a way that empowers, and not in a way that has people totally dependent and perpetually dependent on outsiders, but in a way where outsiders support them to be all that they can be. Having said that, I decided that I wanted to design something that would be built on communities being empowered, not communities asking for handouts, but communities rising up to say, this is what I need, this is what I can do, and then you can help me to do what I need to do for myself. And I'm just simplifying that, and came up with a model for social movement for change. And because of my function, because of my work, I could not get external funding. I couldn't get money from the UN or anybody. So everything has been out of pocket. So I would do a borehole here, do a latrine there, really small household level, small scale, small community activities. But the model, the principles behind the model, I believed in it so fundamentally. And I decided to do my thesis for my doctorate on transformational leadership. I decided to do it on the fact that I fundamentally believe that there has to be a different way to do development planning in these developed countries. There has to be something different. There cannot be this continuing thing of people sitting in the center, they design these wonderful plans, they transplant from other places. It's a document, not even linked to budgeting, not even linked to resource allocation, nothing. And there's no role for communities. There's no view of communities. There's no values articulated. I felt that this was not the way for development in this particular century, given where the world is now, given the need for communities to be empowered. I feel the power should be transferred back to the people. Communities need to have that power to feed themselves, that power to be able to educate their children. Everybody wants to be able to take care of their own. Even the birds in the sky want to feed their babies. And so I designed this model, and I've been thinking to myself that I was all alone. And I was just going to do my thesis on this. And I said, I have to find a little area where I can implement this, find some money to do this thing and implement something to prove this. I've done it at a small scale. It's not enough to prove this concept. And then I go to this meeting where Q is. And then Q describes Panta. And I'm sitting there saying to myself, no, this can't be happening. He literally, it's not called social movement for change, but the key principles and values, the same perspectives, all taken at a larger scale to 32 communities, and basically demonstrating that communities can actually be empowered to take care of themselves and feed themselves, and not to be reliant on aid. And I was blown away. Flabbergasted, blown away. And for me, the road project, because the road project is being funded, because there's community funding for the road project, and the community were the first donors to the project, that's what I'm focusing on for my thesis. However, outside of the road project, the entire model of Panta is what development should be doing. That's what everybody should be doing. We should be having several Pantas. And I think Panta should be a center of excellence where people come to learn and to understand how to really do development, concretely do development, people-centered development, sustainable development. And so separate from the thesis, I think this is a model that needs to be taken outside of Liberia for example, for South Sudan. I was listening to Q today, but then listening to you also tonight, and I'm thinking to myself, we need to have a Panta in South Sudan. How do we have a Panta model in South Sudan? Do we have enough already of Panta in Liberia as proof of principle where people can actually come and learn and go and replicate? I don't know that yet, but I think this is something that is the key for the future of least developed countries. I think it's the key for the future of Africa for the most part. But definitely for me, it's the key for Liberia, if nothing else. And I told Q that I wanted, and I've done development, I've served South Asia, I was in Jordan, Yemen. I mean, I've served different parts of the world, and I'm telling you, it pains me the amount of money we spend on workshops and this and that. And where I sit now, I can tell people I'm not going to pay for this, I'm not going to give you that budget for that, but I can't change the system. I can only change what's within my remit. I can't change the entire global system. But if we can demonstrate a proof of principle like Panta, that should be able to influence the system to a point where we have a global transformation the way we do development work, where we actually transform how the World Bank partners and how the IMF and others partner with countries, because they have the development funding.
Alex is in labor. There's no car in Kamu whatsoever. Many women fall in labor. Sometimes they gotta be taken to a hospital or clinic. There's no way to take them there.
Come on.
No, I got a pregnant woman in the car. I gotta take her to the hospital right now.
Another want to go again. Right from the hospital.
2 pregnant women?
Yeah, from the hospital, Your Honor.
What happened to her?
There's no time to get delivered. They have to get her in front.
What you say?
I'm telling you, there's no chance. Please help us.
2 pregnant women are paying her? Road being bad, it makes everything very, very, very dangerous. As you can see here, look what we gotta go through here. and it
Well, I watch out.